I dub thee a nerdy knight of the round, sworn defenders of all who oppress the nerd. Now, on to the round table. Listen to what they say, for their words will guide you.
It's another nerdy night as my roundtable joins me, Ben, the ridiculous Riddick, as we decide to discuss the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Joining me at my roundtable today is Sam DJ Flufkins Chen.
All about the numbers. I got them all.
And
Gotta catch them all.
And you know what, Mike? I'm not looking at my scripted opening. DeMarco.
Woo!
I guess that's a title.
That's Mike's Dave. Don't wear it out.
So guys, our topic tonight, we are literally going to be ranking the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the worst movie to the best movie in it tonight.
Can we also predict where we think the new Captain America will fall into this ranking?
I think that's a good. I think that's a good thing to throw in at the very end.
We'll revisit it once we do our spoiler cast.
For sure. For those of you guys watching the live Twitch channel, you guys are going to be seeing this 1 week before everyone else does. If you're downloading us on iTunes or watching us on YouTube, we just lost video from Sam.
We did? Oh, yep, there he goes.
Live
shows.
If you're watching this on iTunes, or listening to this on iTunes, or watching it on YouTube, this is coming out the week that Marvel Civil War is coming out, or Captain America Civil War is coming out. So this is kind of our celebration episode for that. I'm thinking we should probably wait to iron out some of the technical difficulties, Mike, or is that?
Yeah, I guess we just wait here for Sam.
Okay.
Like, we're already live. We can just kind of
This is true.
Cut it out when we need to, or something.
So while we're waiting for Sam, something you and I were talking about. Or maybe would it be spoilers to talk about the comic book? What happens at the end of the comic book version of Civil War?
I don't think it would be, but it is possibly true, so it could be a spoiler.
Okay,
but it's not like it's a new thing. Like Civil War's been around for a while.
Yeah,
so,
but
Sam's back,
and I know Sam doesn't want to have the ending spoiled.
No, please do not spoil the ending.
The potential ending, because.
It happens in the comic, but maybe not the movie. We don't know yet.
So before we go into our thing, I thought we should start off with what we always start off with, and that's our active quests.
Okay.
Sam or Mike.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yep, I'm here. What have I been doing? My active quests.
Yes.
I don't know. Today, I watched pretty much all of Silicon Valley. Up to last night's episode, which I've seen it before. It's not new, but I just rewatched the entire show basically, and then saw last night's new episode, and that was awesome.
Good show. I haven't.
Oh yeah, it's a.
I haven't watched it.
I've only watched the first episode.
Oh yeah,
it's
a
great show.
It's really good. It's hilarious.
I'll have to pick that one up then.
Yep, it's short
and it's
too.
Short.
The 2 seasons are like 12 or 13 episodes, and they're all like half-hour episodes or whatever.
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
It's fast.
Yeah.
So I could knock it out in a couple days.
Yeah.
They're all HBO seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. How about you, Sam? What have you been up to?
So I've been actually switching everything over to a completely new browser. I am on the Vivaldi bandwagon, which is I don't know how to describe it. It's a more customizable version of Chrome, but has full Chrome extension support. So you're really not giving up a ton of functionality, but it's very fast, and it's got cool additional features. Like right now, in my browser, I have this side panel, and the side panel is just our Twitch chat.
Ooh.
And I can do that with a lot of different websites. It'll load either the mobile version or a desktop version. That's just this little side panel on the screen, and you can group tabs. You can do all this stuff.
What's the how much does it slow down the computer in comparison to Chrome?
So I think the answer to that question is it slows it down exactly the same amount as Chrome, maybe a little bit less.
Okay.
But the benefit is things are faster. So like Facebook, for example, on my computer was running so slow, but now on Vivaldi it's super fast. It still takes up like
Okay, so that's not just a me with Chrome thing. Because every time I want to look at Facebook on my on my desktop,
Yeah.
I have to use Safari.
No, Chrome's definitely gotten kind of bloated the past 5 years or so. When it used to be like easily the best, it's been declining little by little over time lately. I guess they've gotten lazy maybe, or I don't know. I don't know the
Yeah,
software side of it, why it's happening, but
I will say another key to using Chrome is having the great suspender.
oh
If
yeah,
you're a
I love that.
person, you absolutely need it. And it actually works really great in Vivaldi because well, one, you can shut down all of your additional tabs in Vivaldi really easily, but this side panel thing, all the sides are still loaded in there. So what I do is like I bookmark the Great Suspender version, and then I just load it every time I need it, and then I can revert back to the suspended version when I don't. It makes like process management really easy.
Interesting.
Good to know.
What have you been up to?
You know, so we have been planning kind of our big Marvel Civil War week. So if you guys are listening to this on iTunes and YouTube, definitely head over to nkrn.org. Probably now, depending on what time of day you're listening to this. And there's going to be a bunch of Civil War related content coming up. So I have been rereading every issue of the comic book version of Civil War. So Initiative, Road to Civil War, and Epilogue. We're talking 180 books that I'm trying to finish before next week, so that I have a very fresh memory on everything that happened in the comics, because I'm going to be talking about the comparisons a lot. So that's what I've been up to. And I'm about 20... Yeah, probably about 20 issues in of 180. I think it's 189 total.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah, well,
Crazy.
I take my
didn't
comic
realize
books
it was
very
that big.
seriously,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and I'm very excited about this movie. So speaking of how excited I am about this movie, let's get straight into the list. So here's how it's going to work tonight. Mike and I have ranked the movies from 12 to 1. And essentially what we're going to do is we are going to argue our rankings, and Sam is going to choose the movie that goes into that slot based on our description.
I will tie break
Yeah.
box office results.
You'll tie break with box office results.
Yeah, why not?
So, I mean, I guess essentially we should just get...
Yeah, I do not have my lists up, so you'll have to refresh me so I can fill them in for our audience ranking thing.
What do you mean you don't have... you don't
Like
have...
I don't have them in front of me. So
Okay.
You don't have yours, or you don't have Ben's?
either.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I have both of them up and ready to go.
Okay.
So I'll start off with mine. Well, we're going to start off at 12 and work our way up to number 1. And for my number 12, I have selected The Incredible Hulk. Okay. Now, I want to throw out there that just because that's what I'm putting in my number 12, it does not mean I think it's a terrible movie. I literally went through this list with my wife trying to figure out what the ranking would be. And when it came down to it, the problem that I had with Incredible Hulk is I could not reasonably think of a movie that was worse than Incredible Hulk. And Incredible Hulk kind of came out at a time before the Marvel Cinematic Universe was really in full swing. Yes, it still had the Robert Downey Jr. cameo in the
It was 1 month after.
It was
Iron
right.
Man.
Yeah, it was right after Iron Man.
Iron Man was in May of 2008. Hulk was in June, and then Dark Knight was in July. That was
right.
that summer of movies.
And my main issue with it is like if I'm gonna be really picky, I
Put
don't
your hand down.
think what?
Shadow, all of your face.
Yep.
There you go.
If I'm gonna be really picky, I don't think Edward Norton was the perfect Hulk, and I did not necessarily enjoy Liv Tyler as Betty Ross. She was incredibly quiet, and all in all, I feel like it could have been better, and the vibe of the Hulk was very different from what Mark Ruffalo then made it when he came back in Avengers. So that's kind of my main issue with it is I can't justifiably say that there is any movie that is worse than Incredible Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right. So, do we want
Dark World.
Do we want to put where my Hulk is, or do we want to go to my 12 and then argue that point? How do you want to do it?
I think if we build it up from the bottom, then it like naturally makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so then next we talk about my number 12.
Yep.
Okay. I believe my number 12 was Iron Man 2.
Yes, it
Correct?
was. Sorry, I guess I
Yes.
could have helped you with that.
So,
It was
what he
Iron Man
asking
2.
for.
So, like Ben said, and I totally, it's true that being number 12 does not make it a bad movie.
Right.
All these movies are good, but I think Iron Man 2 was the worst MCU movie because it just was boring. Like, even when the first time I saw it in theater, I found it boring. I found the villain was pointless and he was badly done. Like the Whiplash Vanco like consolidation thing they did was just weird.
Yep.
Hammer was a more interesting villain, and he didn't have much to do other than talk. Justin Hammer, which was Sam Rockwell's character. Birds. Just say that.
They
Just
took
Birds.
my Boyd. I want my Boyd.
It was just a weird movie. I as we'll get into, I go between Iron Man 2 or 3 being the worst, but I do think yes, absolutely. But I do think 2 ended up in the end was less, like still less. I still enjoyed it less than 3.
See, now I agree. I think Iron Man 2 was it's next on my list of the movies. My only
is it
issue.
your number 11? You're just going to move on to that?
What? No.
No.
Oh, okay.
My question for you. So you have Hulk at number 9 on your list. That
Yes.
means you think there are 3 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that are worse than the Hulk. When was the last time you saw The Incredible Hulk?
This is going to sound weird, and it's only because I'm poor, but Hulk is the only Marvel movie I own.
Okay. I own
So
a
I've
lot of
seen it.
movies.
I was like,
I
that-
own
I
some
don't think
movies
that
that I
answers
haven't
Ben's
watched
question.
since I purchased them, so that doesn't
Well,
tell me anything.
I've seen it more recently than most of the other movies, other than the ones that were in theaters recently. No, I mean, I'm with you that Hulk is definitely not the best one. That's why it's still on the bottom half of my list. And most of the shortcomings of the Hulk end up being Ed Norton, which was they recast him. Like they knew that was an issue, and I think he was fine in the context of the movie itself. But as soon as you look at the universe as a whole, Mark Ruffalo is a much better choice for Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
But are we judging these movies like you still have to look at the movie as a movie, and I think The Incredible Hulk succeeded where it was trying to, in more ways than Iron Man 2 or 3 did. And of course, when you try and compare it to like the old Hulk movie, it blows out of the water.
Well, yeah.
That movie had mutant poodles.
I mean, and
that
at least
fought.
Incredible Hulk came out in a time period where superhero movies had actually taken a turn for the better.
Yeah, they were on the upswing.
Yeah.
And it was a part of that. It was right before, a month before Dark Knight, which for most people, that's kind of a plateau as a height.
Yeah.
I will say this about all about this discussion. I think you both have a huge hard on for Chris Hemsworth because Thor Dark World was not good. I just watched it last night. It was not good. And I find it hard to believe that there are 3 movies worse than that.
I mean, we'll get into it eventually, I'm sure, but my counter for that is that Loki steals that movie and he makes it better than a lot of other movies are.
See
Just seeing Loki in that movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll move on to Dark World when we get there because I think Mike and I placed Dark World at almost the same spot. Actually, pretty much exactly the same spot if Mike had put Hulk at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think I buy the Hulk in 12 argument, especially due to things like recasting, right? Like there's a sign from the gods or the canon that it wasn't great, right? Because they would have just kept the same people. But
so good, like they also are replaced Rhodey after Iron Man 1.
Yeah, but that was a turn for the better also.
I agreed. But
real quick, Citizen is asking the David Bana or the Edward Norton. It's Eric Bana.
It's Eric Bana, yeah.
And it's the Norton.
Wait, what? I'm confused now.
He was asking if we were talking about Hulk with Eric Bana. You know, the Hulk dogs?
Yes, Eric Bana and Edward Norton. Okay, I got you now.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay, so sorry, Sam. What were you saying is number 12?
I think Hulk can be pinned in as number 12.
In your face, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Okay, so overall, we're putting Hulk at 12?
Overall, we are putting Hulk at 12. Congratulations, guys. We made a decision.
Yeah.
Yay.
Only 11 more decisions to make.
All right, what's your number 11, Ben?
My number 11 is Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2.
Okay. I absolutely think, besides Hulk, that Iron Man 2 is the weakest of the Marvel Universe movies. It was very much the movie came out as hey, Disney bought Marvel, and now we're really going to be pumping all of our energy into this expanded cinematic universe. So here's another Iron Man because we haven't finished completely planning everything out yet.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like that half step that was like, we know what we want to do, but here's something to kind of just get out there to tide you over. We're going to bog down half the movie with a daddy issue and a weird Russian character that doesn't really have a goal.
Right.
He's not good at fulfilling his goal.
And I mean, I just think what I did like about the movie is it got very, very close to Demon in a Bottle things. Well, I mean,
I feel like 3 was closer, but maybe between the two of them, they kind of hit those notes.
Well, I mean, there's the part where he's dancing around in his house in his Iron Man suit, completely drunk off his mind.
That's true.
So that's kind of where I get that from.
Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
Well, I mean, it's a really strong Iron Man story. It's just, and I have the same problem with Iron Man 3. It gets watered down in a way that it turned a really great Iron Man story into meh.
Yeah.
But it's still Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and I think he's a fantastic
watch
Iron
it all day.
Man.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my number 11. And I know Mike's number 11 was Iron Man 3. I mean, Mike, since your Iron Man 2 didn't make it to number 12, are we just wanting to agree that Iron Man 2 is 11?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. I just have such a hard time agreeing with this, but I mean, it's fine. I also have happened to pull up the Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes rankings for all of the movies.
Okay.
You would?
Yeah, I would. I'm about the numbers. I'm all about the numbers. So you know what's at the bottom of both of them?
Iron Man 2.
Mike?
Dark World.
Dark World.
Yeah.
Dark World's at the bottom, then Hulk, and then at least in Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, actually, in Rotten Tomatoes, Hulk is second to last, Iron Man is third to last, and in
Iron Man what?
two, sorry.
Okay.
And then Metacritic, Iron Man 2 and Thor are actually tied for the 11th spot.
Thor
Or
1?
the 10th spot.
Dark World.
Actually, Thor won.
Wow. People don't like
That's
Thor
fine.
for some reason. I don't get it.
I don't either.
I didn't care for Thor until I saw the movies. But
I will say this. I think that the realm and the way it's done is just exceptionally like different from all the other movies because it's not.
yes.
Well, because
especially
the
with
character
two,
is
it's
different.
not. Yeah, the character is different. It's also not set in at least
Earth
two.
and
I
stuff.
can't really remember one really well because I think it hopped back and forth. But two was more set in like the different planes and Asgard and all this other stuff, right? And so like that feel is so different than
Yeah.
one that's like purely set in real world.
The thing with the Dark World though is it's one of those movies that is really helping set up the Infinity War.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why we're not getting Thor in Civil War and we're getting Thor Ragnarok, which is like it's all in space. The whole movie's going to be away from Earth.
yeah,
So I like Citizen's point about this is that like Thor is like a Superman.
exactly. I mean,
Kinda, yeah.
not even a Superman. He, like he said, like
He is a
Citizen
god,
said,
yeah.
he is a god.
Mhm.
You know, he's even bigger than Superman because Thor isn't even trying to be human.
Right.
Superman's trying to bring out show his human side more.
Yeah.
So Iron Man 2 is what we're going to agree is number 11.
Number 11.
Yep. I'm okay with that.
Number 10, do we just want to go ahead and say Iron Man 3?
I super disagree with that. I
Really?
don't know.
What's your number 10?
Yeah.
Iron Man
What's my
3?
number?
Well, I mean, he would probably
Okay.
try to put Dark World in this spot, I'm assuming.
I think he's asking you, Ben.
Oh, what's mine?
Or are you asking me?
No,
What's
my
your,
number 10
what's
is
your
Iron
number
Man
10
3.
on your list? 3. What's my number 10?
Your number 10 is Dark World.
Dark World. Okay.
Oh. Now we have a contender.
I don't know. I think Iron Man 3 is definitively worse than Dark World.
See,
So I
and
think Iron Man 3 would go for number 10 on the overall.
my gripe with Iron Man 3, I loved the movie. Like I thought it was still a great Iron Man movie. I really liked the Tony Stark coping with with the
Yes.
events of Avengers.
The
I thought that
purpose
was-
of it was excellent. I think the execution is where it fell short.
Yeah, and
They just kind of dropped it.
the other thing that's great is they brought in the whole Extremis thing.
Yeah.
And Extremis is by far my favorite Iron Man storyline in the comics, period. And they missed the opportunity, and I really thought it was going there, to do what they did in the comic. I mean, in the beginning of the movie, they have Tony Stark building 8 million different
Yeah.
Iron Man suits. And at the end of the comic book Extremis, essentially what happens is Tony Stark injects the Extremis thing into himself, but it's an updated version that allows his Iron Man suit to be a part of his body. So he just has to think about his Iron Man suit
Yeah.
and it pours out of his pores.
Right. It's like a molecular version of the suit.
Exactly, and that
Yeah.
surrounds him. So I honest to God thought that is exactly where the end of this movie was going to go, but it didn't.
They fucked up that movie. Like,
So here's my question. It sounds like both of you are, at least from the, not just Iron Man, but from the movies in general that we've discussed so far, are describing this like, I don't like blank because they didn't do what I expected blank.
Well, so
Not
I've
necessarily,
talked about
though,
this
yeah.
a lot.
Well, so my Dark World argument is, you guys are like, oh, but Loki was really good. Well, like, how about everything else? And like, can you really just say that his performance in that was good enough to make up for the rest of the movie?
Well, okay.
I don't think so.
It was good enough to edge it out over a different movie. It doesn't make the movie itself better, which is why it's still really low on the list.
And here's my other thing. I can love the entirety of a movie, but if they fuck up the ending, that immediately ruins the rest of the movie for me.
Right.
And that's what happened with Iron Man 3. And the exact same thing can happen the opposite way. I could hate a movie from beginning to right before the end, but if the ending is great, then I'm fine with it.
So what I'm saying is like
ending.
how much of your like hatred or love comes out of how close they were to what you expected canon to be.
Well, I mean, that's kind of... I am telling you my opinion.
Oh, no. I get it, but I'm saying, like, there's another way of rating it and saying, like, look, I stepped into the movie and thought about how good the movie was on its own versus how well it fits into the universe.
Right. No, for me, very little, like, has to do with the canonicity, like, the accurateness of it. Like, I don't want them to change things that are pointless. Like, I talked about that in the Fantastic Four review. Like, they did stuff in that movie that there's no reason to do, and it actually makes more questions that they don't answer. For instance, in Iron Man 3, part of the reasons why I hate Iron Man 3 are its story reasons. Like, bringing the Mandarin into the movie, and then yanking him away and making this other guy the Mandarin, kind of, like, neutered the movie. When apparently, originally, that wasn't going to happen. That was a last-minute thing to have Killian say that he was the Mandarin. Apparently, they left it open originally where the Mandarin actually could have been the Mandarin, but they just never resolved it. So he could have come back later.
Which is another big, like, shame because the Mandarin is such a great
He's an iconic
villain.
Iron Man villain, and they basically made him a non-villain. They made him a story that wasn't even real.
And I agree with Mike on this. I have no problem with them changing things away from the canon, but yeah, if it's just there were a lot of changes that were, I just want to change this because I want to change this.
Doing it, yeah.
You know.
And then of course there's
It's the same reason I don't like Lost. Every Lost episode ends in like a cliffhanger just for the sake of having a cliffhanger.
Let's not get into that argument.
This and Iron Man 3 had a lot of those moments where it's like, I'm going to change this just for the sake of changing it so the people who have read comics don't know it's coming.
Right. One of the things I really, as far as the world building of the cinematic universe, which was in full force by Iron Man 3, they decided to have Tony give up being Iron Man and blow up all the suits. And then how many months later did we get Avengers 2 or whatever, where, nope, I have a bunch of suits and I have my Hulkbuster and I'm out there saving the world still as Iron Man. Like, there was no...
I mean, to be fair,
whatsoever.
Age of Ultron did have Iron Man trying to build something that took over his job.
But they didn't...
But you're right, they did not explain anything in between.
Right.
What was the after credits scene in Iron Man 3? I don't even remember. And neither do you guys.
Wasn't it? No, that was Winter Soldier.
I can tell you I almost remember none of the after credits.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
So Sam, do you still want to argue that Dark World was worse than Iron Man 3?
I mean, I do.
But I mean, what do you think made Iron Man 3 better?
It was Tony Stark talking to Bruce Banner like he was like a therapist.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was the after credits.
So a pointless after credits.
Right, it wasn't a world building one.
Yeah.
I mean, so as someone who didn't pick up on a lot of the stuff you guys have picked up on, I think it felt very relatable in what he was going through during the movie. I don't know a lot of the canon and the backstory and what happened with the thing with the I didn't really know about a lot of it. So a lot of it for me really is purely like taking the movie at face value. And I just thought it was a much more compelling story than Dark World, where it's like this thing kind of attacks her and like, really, does it really do anything except slow down how quickly they get the thing back? Like, I don't understand that. It was almost a completely pointless plot device just to draw her in. There was no sub-story to it. Like, why was it there? How did she warp into? Like, I just didn't get it.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that the Dark World was worse than Iron Man 3, but they do explain the things that you were talking about as far as why it was there, how she ended up there, and things like that.
I mean, I get that she was there because like the convergence happened, and then the barriers between the worlds weren't that good, and so she ends up just finding a point that was close to that point that she teleported to.
Yeah, because she's been searching for events that were like the one from
the way
Thor
Thor
1
came to Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So pure coincidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna write it off because of coincidences, these movies aren't gonna work at all. There's lots of coincidences.
Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah, I'm with you. Like, they're both like have those story problems. I thought that about Thor as well when I saw it, but I distinctly remember coming out of Iron Man and being disappointed, and coming out of Thor and being like, well, I at least enjoyed watching it.
But like, how much of that could be expectations? How much of that could legitimately be? I expected more from the Iron Man movie, and it didn't live up to it, and I expected less from the Thor movie, and it did better than what I expected.
See, no, that is a point that I can get behind very, very well, because Thor, to me, has never been an interesting character. So I've gone into both Thor movies thinking, this is not going to be that great.
Yeah. And I was pleasantly surprised both times.
Yeah. I think, and I do agree with Mike, I think what makes the movie our interactions with Loki and learning more about Thor's relationship with other Asgardians.
Mm-hmm. That's when they did a lot better in the second one, too, than they did in the first one. With the Warriors 3 and with Odin and his mom and stuff.
Uh-huh. And one of the greatest things in that movie is it's easily in my top 3 favorite moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is when Thor breaks Loki out and Loki is shape-shifting to different people.
That was a fun scene.
That's one of the best scenes, yeah.
I just cracked up. I think Lee was embarrassed to be sitting around me when that part came on in theaters because, God, I love this form. I can just feel the righteousness flowing through me.
I liked when he went.
It means so much too when Disney goes to the trouble of like bringing Chris Evans out for probably one day to shoot that scene.
Yep.
As Loki, like it's awesome. That's the kind of stuff that edges out that movie that might have problems.
And that to me is why Iron Man 3 is lower than Dark World.
Yeah.
So can we slightly agree that Iron Man 3 is worse than Dark World, Sam?
Dark World's gonna be 10 or 9 or whatever. After Iron Man 3.
By any other objective metric, no. But okay, sure.
But this isn't an objective ranking. This is mine and Ben's subjective.
No, I agree. So I should put my foot down and be like, nope, Dark World.
But then that means Iron Man 3 is going to be higher on the list, which I don't think it deserves to be.
Fine, it'll be 9. It'll be 9. What up?
Okay.
All right, so let's make a decision.
Begrudgingly put Iron Man 3 at number 10. How's that, Sam? Does that make it a little better?
Well,
I'm doing it.
I will put my foot down later, sir. But it's fine for now.
Okay.
So wait till one of the ones you care about comes up.
I think we can all agree that Dark World is number 9 at this point with all of this talk. So let's go ahead.
For completion, what is your number 9 and what's my number 9?
My number 9 was Dark World.
Your 9 was Dark World? Okay, and then...
This list is literally turning out like my actual list.
How convenient.
I know it's going to change towards the end.
No, you actually had Thor ranked... maybe you changed your list, but the first one you sent over, you had Thor underneath Dark World. You had Thor 9.
I'm sorry. I had gone through... Yeah.
Okay.
Because while Mike and I were talking originally... I had started kind of having some different thoughts on.
So I think at this point we should call shenanigans, citizen. What do you think? Ben's just morphing the list to his own.
That's fine.
What is my number 9?
Your number
Once
9
again.
was Hulk.
Hulk. Okay.
So at this point,
So
the
now we're
only
back,
thing
like,
that's
equal out
changed on
again.
your list is that we've put Hulk at the bottom.
Right. Compared to the overall. Okay.
Right. All right.
Okay, so number 8.
Number 8. I have Age of Ultron.
You have
Mike,
Age of Ultron.
you have Thor.
And I have
The first Thor.
the original Thor. Okay.
Yeah. So why don't you? I'm gonna let you start. You tell me why Thor is worse than Age of Ultron, or why Age of Ultron is better than Thor. You pick.
Man, like we're getting in the hard spot now, where it's just arbitrary. Like, what order they go in for the next couple?
So I
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think if I look at it, all of the individual components that were like so, I think just between the comedy, the story, the action, like Ultron just edges out. That's the way I see it. Like, are they great? No, but if I look at individual components,
Right.
like between the comedy, the action, the villain, everything like that, I think it just does everything a little bit better.
So you know
Agreed.
why I feel Thor edges out Age of Ultron? It's because I think Thor as a movie had the best main character development in all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because you're actually seeing character growth in Thor. The Thor at the beginning of the movie and the Thor at the end of the movie are almost two different people. And you can't say that about pretty much any other character.
For someone who proclaimed how much he hates origin stories, that sounds like you're fighting for the origin story.
But it's not even. Yes, I
He's
don't.
he's born a god, so theoretically, this is as close as a origin story as you're getting, isn't it?
Yes, I guess you can argue.
I guess you could twist my own words into my own meaning.
But Thor is a very different character. I feel that origin stories of characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. How many times are we going to get these origins?
Yeah.
Whereas this is the first time we've had a Thor origin, and the way I saw Thor, I went into that movie with zero expectations. I'm like, this is going to be the shittiest movie that Marvel Cinematic Universe has done yet. Mm-hmm. But I came out of that movie, and this is a big statement. I came out of that movie saying, maybe I should read a Thor comic or two.
But can't you say the opposite for Ultron? Because it's Avengers 2. People went in with a ridiculous amount of hype. And then
ridiculous amount.
It was never going to reach it. It was never going to be as good as Avengers 1.
Yeah.
And I think it did. I think it still did really well comparatively. Like,
yeah, but I still think it is worse than Thor.
I don't know. I mean,
nope.
it's hard. They're hard to compare because Thor is a solo. It's an origin movie, and the Avengers movies inherently aren't. They're not made for character development, really. Like, they're not arc movies because you're bringing too many characters in. It's just an assemble movie. Like, that's the purpose of it.
Yeah.
If anything, they are arc movies for the new characters. So, like, Vision, I guess, kind of, or like Scarlet Witch, maybe. No one else really gets a real complete arc because they're more about dealing with other movies.
Right.
I enjoyed Ultron a lot. Even the parts that people tend to not like as much, like spending a half an hour at Hawkeye's ranch, like, I thought that was awesome. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I wanted to see in that movie. I'm not saying
that. I mean, this is true with all of the movies. None of these movies are bad movies.
No.
Well, I loved Age of Ultron, but at the end of the day, there are so many Marvel movies that I would rather watch than Age of Ultron.
Agreed. But I mean, so I always So I think about it this way: when we're talking specifically about character development, like, and again, I have not watched Thor in a while, but wouldn't it be safe to say that character development is essentially the story of the first one?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
movie's about him being an asshole
Yeah,
and needing
where,
to
like,
not be an asshole.
character development in another movie or in other movies is a byproduct of the story and the circumstance and the events.
And you hope it is.
So, like,
if it's
yeah.
not, usually that's a weakness.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, if that's the only focus for this and then they do it, great. You told the story of Thor developing as a character versus you're telling a story from the Marvel universe and it just so happened no characters developed in it.
Okay.
I think
I know the main character of Age of Ultron who had an arc was Ultron.
Yeah.
He's
Agreed.
the one. He's the primary one that had an arc, and it was
All
awesome.
right. I think in the interest of time,
Yeah.
we go with Mike.
Yeah. I already begrudgingly wrote Thor down as number 8.
Okay.
Okay, so
And does that mean we're putting Ultron as
Thor is
7?
8.
I would like to put Ultron as 7 because Mike's number 7 is Ant-Man, and I do think Age of Ultron was worse than Ant-Man.
I will
I agree
agree
with that. Okay, so Ultron is 7,
Okay.
and then what is your 7? And my 7 was Ant-Man.
Your 7 was Ant-Man, my 7 was Thor.
Okay, got it.
So
now we're at 6.
yeah, now we are at number 6, and actually, Mike, your 6 and my 6 are the same 6.
Okay, and that is
Captain America,
Captain
the first
America.
Avenger.
First one.
Okay.
Avenger.
Then do
So
we need to argue?
You're
anything, or is
basically
it
making
just
you're
6?
making your argument on whether you think Ant-Man should surpass.
right
Should go.
to be the 6th overall slot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So here's my thing with Captain America. It's I don't like Captain America by himself
mhm.
As a character that much. He's a little too goody and close to Superman in the way he is. So for me, I just was not a huge fan of Captain America by himself when you compare it to like Winter Soldier, where you have him and Black Widow.
Right.
And
I agree with that.
so that's kind of why Captain America's in the bottom half of my list.
Yes.
Well, I guess
So-
the first and the top half of my list.
But we have to decide if our loose end right now is Ant-Man.
Yep.
So
Well,
we need to figure out
Ant-Man
Ant-Man's
for me
below
is
or
I will
above
say
Captain
I will say
America.
as the tiebreaker, I would put Ant-Man above Captain America.
Better than Captain
as-
America.
Yeah.
And I mean, just for the sheer sake of the humor
Yeah.
and the again, like I really enjoyed the interaction between the characters in that movie.
Okay, so let me fight for Captain America. I guess I do love Ant-Man a lot, but I feel like your side of it is more because it's newer, a little bit. Like it's the most recent movie we've seen next to Civil War. Captain America, I think, is better than Ant-Man because Ant-Man was kind of like it was a hard one to do because nobody kind of expected it to do well necessarily, and they teed it up and they made it work. But Captain America was a hard movie. Like they tried to do the propaganda piece while kind of getting that like they tried to make a legit Marvel movie, but still having that propaganda origin that Captain America was. And they did the balance enough to the point where it didn't ruin the movie. Like, that was a fine line that they had to play with, and they pulled it off. And they made Captain America a, like, interesting character. And that was also the first time they managed to tell a story that was way in the past, and then also wing it back into the present Marvel storyline so that it worked. Like, people didn't question the fact that he was in the 40s and now he's in the, the 2010s.
Right, but people didn't. I mean, that I feel like that was expected, though.
Expected from comic book fans that understand that.
Whereas Ant-Man, like the expectations were pretty low, and again, it's a movie that made me care about a character that I did not think I would care about. I can't tell you how many times Lee and I had the conversation of Ant-Man's not going to be a good movie. You can't have Ant-Man by himself in a movie. It's not gonna work. You can't have an Ant-Man comic either.
Yeah, I think once again this is coming down to this expectations game, which may
Right.
or may not be fair to it. But like,
Right.
I feel like if you look, and again, this is 6, right? So this is not like we're arguing over which one should be 12.
Right.
But I think Ant-Man did a lot. Like, yes, was Ant-Man a culmination of figuring out what works and doesn't work in a bunch of the movies and then putting it in a movie?
Mhm.
Yes, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think the comedy
I
is
feel
definitely
like,
on point.
To that sense, I feel like Ant-Man's biggest fight was to get over the stigma of Edgar Wright leaving the movie. Because that was a movie that I wanted to see. I wanted to see Edgar Wright's Ant-Man movie, and then he left. So then the expectations for the movie dropped significantly, and then it still turned out really good, which was great.
Yeah.
And that helped it do better in our minds because it was even better than expected.
Right.
A lot better than expected because it was actually really good.
I mean, in all honesty, when it comes down to the two, like Sam said, we're in like it's the part of the list that's not the most important parts of the list.
Right.
You know,
But I think it is more important than we thought because this is an actual, like, it's not just a one position difference that we had. Like, I'm at Ant-Man at 7, you're at what, 5 or 4?
Yeah,
5?
at least
mine's
5.
at 5.
So it's actually a bigger gap than most of the other ones we've done.
And we're actually
Well,
right now,
I think you did do. I didn't think you made your case for Iron Man or Incredible Hulk being at 9 then,
That's true.
because you didn't really fight for that one, and that was a 3-spot jump, 4 or.
But I mean, we fought that one down, and I wasn't changing anyone's mind about that movie.
I mean,
by the nature of how everything is, doesn't everything have to at least be a 2 gap?
Theoretically.
I mean,
Unless there's like
right
really
now-
big
So we get
shift
to the
between
top
your
3.
right now, Mike and I are arguing Ant-Man as number 6 or Captain America as number 6. Mike had Ant-Man at number 7. I had Ant-Man at number 5. This is literally our
Right.
middle point.
Yeah.
So if
So
you want,
I'd be willing to say that Ant-Man is number 6, just as a law of average.
And then Cap is 5.
I like how I'm not really a tiebreaker here. You're just like, all right, you know what?
But
Doesn't matter.
no,
Sam's opinion doesn't matter.
I'm actually, like, Sam, you're looking at this as a numbers game, too. What do the numbers for Ant-Man versus Captain America look like?
So to be completely fair,
Mhm.
Metacritic has Captain Avenger higher by 2 points, 66 to 64.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes has it higher by 9 points, 89 to 80. But Ant-Man does outperform overall box office.
Yeah, but that...
Yeah,
you
I think
could-
overall the movies are going to grow over time.
But it is a 4-year difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You convinced me.
If we're going to look at that, then I'll say Ant-Man number 6 and Captain America number 5.
Okay, and then what was my number 5?
Your number 5 was Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron. Right.
Oh, another huge... No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so those were just 3 slots that were switched around. That's fine.
Yep.
So we're still kind of in that zone. Okay, so now we're in the final 4. What's your
No.
number 4?
My
Winter
number
Soldier?
4 is Iron Man 1, and your number 4 is Iron Man 1.
Oh,
Really where the discrepancy comes in and where my challenge really came in was the top 3.
great. So then we're just going to make Iron Man number 4 overall.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Iron Man, the first Iron Man was a great movie.
Yep. Set off the whole universe as we know it, and it's aged well. It hasn't like gotten bad with time. Like it's still a standout. Among
The only
us.
thing I didn't like about the movie was Terrence Howard, and they fixed that.
Yep, they did.
So,
I didn't
Alright,
think it was
so-
that horrible.
So yeah, I know we both have the same final 3 in different orders, correct?
yeah, and it's not even that big of an order difference.
Right. So tell me the orders real quick. We'll just pump out all 3
let's
and
go
then
one.
we'll
Yeah,
argue
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. So for me,
Yeah.
number 3 is Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Number 2 is Avengers.
Number 2 is Avengers.
And number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
For you, Number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2 is Winter Soldier. And number 1 is Avengers.
Right.
And I'm going to be completely honest. I was very back and forth on whether I liked Winter Soldier better than Guardians. So I would almost put Avengers at number 3 and Winter Soldier at 2.
Oh,
But my
it's
Avengers
really
is number
it's really
one.
interesting because if I scored the same list, I would have done it also differently.
Okay, so
So you would have had the other variation.
I'm going
that we
to
had?
change my 3 as being Avengers is 3,
Okay.
No.
Winter Soldier is 2,
Soldier is 2. So now
and
we're,
Guardians of the
we're-
Galaxy is 1.
So now we're reversed.
Yeah, now you're reversed.
Yes, now we are reversed.
Okay. That's interesting.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to say to Mike's list, right? I think what they did with Avengers was incredibly difficult, and pulling it off really, really well. I think we got a much better sense for the humor and the interaction in that universe than just writing it off to be like, oh, Iron Man's funny, right? Because Tony's funny, right? So I think that was like a great part of it. And so I feel like if we were giving bonus points for how well they pulled something off,
Yeah.
I would say you would give bonus points to Avengers.
See, now here's going to be my counter argument to that. It was Joss Whedon that wrote and directed that. I fully expected them to pull it off, and if they didn't pull it off, I was going to be sorely disappointed.
Yeah. So how many things that have you expected to be really good that haven't been good in life?
I mean, that's a different story when we're looking at this list.
Yeah. So
for the most part, everything has either exceeded expectations or met expectations. Nothing on this list for me has gone below my expectations.
Well, Iron Man 3.
And Avengers, well, yeah, okay.
No, I know what you're saying, but like once again, we're just like we're level setting how good a movie is based on what Ben expected the movie to do.
This is my opinion. That is the point of my list. I am okay arguing that there are other movies that are better. I'm just saying, or worse.
Subjective list.
Yeah, it's a subjective list. I'm telling you my reason for why it's in the position that it's in.
Yeah, no. I get that, but what I'm saying is like if you're gonna stack rank how good like movies are, right? Like even in your own opinion, like I don't know if the natural inclination is to say, here's how much I thought I was going to enjoy the movie when I walked in, and here's how much I enjoyed it after I walked out, as like the definitive factor on which one is better than the other ones. Because I would
argue a lot of people do think of it that way.
I was going to say the
yeah.
exact same thing.
Most people would come at it that way.
Yeah.
I try not to. I try and look at it like the reason Avengers is number 1 is because of the context of what that movie was and had to be. I could argue that Guardians was probably a better movie or Winter Soldier was a better movie, but I think Avengers had a lot more at stake than Guardians or Winter Soldier.
See, and I disagree with that because even if Avengers sucked, we still had all of the other standalone movies that were great.
Sure, but if Avengers flopped, the universe would have come to an end.
No, it wouldn't have.
If Avengers flopped,
not even close. Not with the amount of money that the other standalone movies made on their own.
Avengers, if I remember correctly, was the first Disney one. They were eyeing that thing heavily. Like everything before that was Marvel Studios on their own. Disney bought them, put out Avengers, and if Avengers flopped after all the marketing they put into it, they would have hacked to shit like all the way the budgets of those movies worked. And then the whole universe would have died.
I agree with Mike.
Yeah.
Right.
Marvel didn't have the control at that point.
But it would not look like what it looks like now.
No.
Yeah.
And Ultron would have been very different.
I cannot justify putting Avengers as number 1 on this list. Not when Guardians and Winter Soldier.
So let me hear your argument for Guardians. Because I definitely enjoyed it. I would put Guardians in the 2 spot. Okay. So I'm not being Mike about this. No, but What's your Guardians play here?
Well, so my Guardians play was here we have an actual character with 0 superpowers. And I mean, yes, you can argue that Tony Stark doesn't have superpowers, but he's an incredibly smart human being. And
Ant-Man.
okay, fine.
That's me. Sorry.
But no, he is even a character. He doesn't have a suit that makes him, great. He's got a little blaster pistol and a spaceship. Mm-hmm. And he leads a team of people who do have, some pretty unique abilities. So it to me, the main character, Peter Quill, in Guardians was a lot more relatable than any of the other Marvel movies. And on top of that, it was the story of like his story was just a lot, I don't know, hit closer to home for me. Okay. I felt more feels in that movie than I.
So that you just like all the other stuff you just said was whatever. That is the reason why. It's because it resonated with you.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Sure. We're gonna go with that then.
That is the reason why it's higher to you.
Yeah.
It didn't resonate with you as much as Avengers could have.
Right. And again, I loved Avengers.
Oh yeah.
Talking about my top 3 favorite moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, my number 1 favorite moment and number 2 favorite moment take place in Avengers, which are the Bruce Banner saying, "Well, that's my secret. I'm always angry," and they both are Hulk moments, and Hulk taking Loki and
puny god.
So I mean, I love the movie. It just, Guardians of the Galaxy just it tugged on my heartstrings a little differently.
Right. For me, Guardians is as high as it is because similar to Ant-Man, it was an expectation thing. It was a stakes thing. Like Guardians of the Galaxy is essentially a Z-list comic before this movie came out. Marvel didn't have X-Men. They didn't have Fantastic Four. They didn't have like all these properties that are really important to Marvel. Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, well, what can we do? And they picked out this low comic, and they decided to make a movie, like a big MCU movie for it. And on top of all that, Rocket Raccoon's a primary character. That alone was a high stake. If they didn't have Rocket Raccoon and have it work in that movie, the movie would have failed. And Rocket is a scene stealer. He's one of the best parts of the movie. Between him and Groot, they're...
but it's always Rocket and Groot, even in the comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where it's at, is Rocket and Groot.
And like, for me, that was the litmus test going into the movie. It's like, if Rocket works, this movie is going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. And then it did, and it was great. And then the movie even like shattered those expectations because the whole movie was great. Every character was great. Chris Pratt was amazing, and Drax stole scenes he was in, which I didn't expect at all. Like,
nothing goes over my head.
I'm with you that it's an amazing movie, and that's why it's number 3. Like 3 is still a very high part of the high number of that list, especially for a one-off movie at this point. Still a one-off that doesn't actually connect with any of the other movies directly. Like the only way it connects is with Infinity Stones so far.
Well, I mean, it lays out what the Infinity Stones are.
Yeah, no, it's important in context, but there's no character crossovers or anything like that. Actually,
well, there's the Collector. He's a character crossover.
Barely. Yes, he is. You're right. But it's not like having Tony Stark show up, or like Ross show up or whatever, or Nick Fury. Mm-hmm. There's still no foreseeable way how they're going to connect to the other characters, other than, oh, you guys are fighting Thanos, so are we, and then they're there.
When does Guardians of the Galaxy 2 still comes out before Infinity War, though?
Yes, it does.
So, I mean...
Oh, it's got to happen.
There's going to be something that happens in that movie that turns their eye towards Earth.
I've heard that might not be the
Earth.
case, but there's no way that they can get away with that. Even if it's just the after credit scene, there's got to be something that connects it.
Yeah.
Because they're shooting that right now, so like there's little things starting to come out about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Winter Soldier is our other in this list that we have to talk about and figure out where it goes.
Because I said
I think based on the way your two lists go, Winter Soldier should actually be 3.
But we haven't talked about Winter Soldier.
I know.
And on my list, Winter Soldier is better than Guardians.
No, I know.
For me, Winter Soldier is number 2. It's, and like I said, for 1 and 2, I was very back and forth. 1, 2. I thought Winter Soldier was one of the strongest standalone storylines that Marvel has done,
while still pushing the universe plot forward too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought
both things.
I thought their bringing Hydra back was very well done and well explained, because that was not going to be the easiest feat to just say, oh yeah, this Hydra has been going very, very strong since the war. I thought that was well done. And I really enjoyed seeing Captain America adapting to the modern world.
Yes. His relationship with Black Widow was great.
Even his relationship with God damn it, Falcon. I can't remember Falcon. Was great.
Yeah.
Especially the beginning.
Just the very first scene, yeah. It was great. I didn't think about it till just now, but I think I realized part of why I loved it so much was the crossover to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I was going to say that is another thing that they did incredibly well, is they made a universe, so they made a movie event that did very much affect the show that I was already enjoying.
It completely affected the show. For a lot of people, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't a great show. It was all right, and a lot of people dropped off. But that's because they were biding their time, because they couldn't do anything until Winter Soldier came out.
Yep.
And then it changed the entire concept of the show.
And as soon as that happened, like you're right, Mike, because I told you I dropped off on that show at about that time. Yeah. And it wasn't until you were like, no. After Captain America, it got better. And actually, one of the reasons I stopped watching is I watched an episode and they talked about the death of Nick Fury in the episode. And I was like, well, God damn it. I haven't seen the movie yet. So,
yeah, they played some really weird games in between those, which, I mean, works out after everything is released.
Yeah.
So I will say this: if we take all of our rankings, if I do a 1, 2, 3 ranking, and we aggregate them, there is an order. I don't know if you care about that order at this point.
I don't think, like, for me, Guardians and Winter Soldier can kind of swap places as needed. For Ben, it's the same way. There's my Avengers and his Avengers are in different places. So I think whatever you say, kind of just gonna have to be the top 3.
Yeah. So the list would have been Avengers, Guardians, Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Avengers, Guardians.
So Avengers is 1.
Yes.
Okay, but Guardians is 2.
Yes.
Wait, Avengers is 1 or 3?
1.
Okay, so you went backwards. Okay, so Avengers.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Avengers.
So
Guardians.
Avengers is 1, Guardians is 2, Captain America 3.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
So then we have our overall list.
Yep. So real quick, just to run down, we have number 12, The Incredible Hulk. Number 11, Iron Man 2. Can we just mention that Iron Man are the only movies that are numbered?
Yep.
It's weird.
I think they stopped that on purpose.
Number 10, Iron Man 3. Number 9, Thor: The Dark World. Number 8, Thor. Number 7, Avengers Age of Ultron. Number 6, Ant-Man. Number 5, Captain America the First Avenger. Number 4, Iron Man. Number 3, Captain America the Winter Soldier. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy. And number 1, Avengers. Congratulations, guys. I think we made a pretty good list.
Yeah.
Even though
So,
I believe it is Marvel's The Avengers.
I'm sorry. Marvel's The Avengers.
Marvel's The Avengers. So I guess to wrap up this in a bow, Civil War comes out
Civil War.
very soon.
Yep. If you're watching on the live stream, Civil War comes out in about a week and a half. And if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on iTunes, it comes out in just a matter of days.
Yep.
So are you about to ask where are we going to rank? Where do we think we are going to rank Civil War?
I think we will talk about that, but I think the first thing I want to note is the closer we get to Civil War coming out, the more I feel like they need to drop it being Captain America 3 and just call it Marvel's Civil War.
I agree.
Because it's essentially Avengers 3.
Yep.
This movie is like so massive, and from what we know so far, Captain America, like, he's still very important. Obviously, he's a central character, but it's just as much Tony Stark's movie as it is Steve Rogers.
Yeah. I mean, this is without us seeing it, though.
That's true, and maybe it'll feel different once we see it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, this is also supposed to be a very big, Bucky, Steve movie.
That's true.
So
and that might be the
I'm willing to give it the
it.
benefit of the doubt, but I think it has to prove both ways, whether it's an Avengers movie or a Captain America.
I mean, I think essentially what it comes down to in the production side of things is it's a Captain America movie because the Russo brothers are doing it, and they did Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's why it's a Captain America movie. But
Gotcha.
really, they were just making a Civil War movie.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah. And they're also going to be picking up, like, Joss, obviously we know is out.
Yep.
They are continuing on from Civil War and doing both Infinity War movies back to back next.
Which Joss is out because he was so disappointed with Age of Ultron.
That's what people headline. It more.
I mean,
comes to Marvel.
that's what
It's more about dealing with Marvel and Disney.
Mark Ruffalo has said.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon has said.
Well, Joss is disappointed in almost everything. He's that kind of creative.
Yeah.
But
so,
from what I've heard, it's more about dealing with the concessions between Disney and Marvel and himself, and that's why he's done.
And here's the big thing about Civil War, Mike.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is a big part of Civil War.
Fucking Spider-Man, man.
It's gonna be a big deal.
30 minutes of screen time Spider-Man has. 20 as Spider-Man, 10 as Peter Parker.
That's what I've heard.
God.
It worries me. Hearing that alone, it worries me. It's like, man, they picked him up kind of late to have him be in the movie that much. But at the same time, we just went through 12 movies about how they never disappoint us, really.
Yep.
So I'm not really worried about it in the end.
Yeah.
And all the reception so far is that it's amazing. So
Sam.
Yes.
Where do you think Civil War is going to fall on your list?
I have a suspicion that it'll crack the top 3.
Okay. Mike?
I'm the same. I think it's going to crack the top 3, and I'm not sure. Because I'm still not like solid on my top 3. I don't know which one it's going to knock out. Yeah.
I mean, I think this one will knock out Avengers for me, and I do actually think that Civil War will be number 1.
Yeah.
On the list.
I think there's a really good chance.
I'm not even going to say top 3. I'm going to say it's most likely going to be my number 1, just for the sheer fact. I mean, I will say, Spider-Man is easily my favorite comic book character of all time. It is the comic book character that got me into comic books. I have read every single issue of The Amazing Spider-Man.
Which is an insane feat to be able to say.
from issue 1 to issue 700 through this all Superior Spider-Man issues, back to Amazing Spider-Man, and then back to Amazing Spider-Man in this most recent reboot. So we're talking roughly about, I think it's like 1,100 comics of Spider-Man that I have read.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Spider-Man is, and he's going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
We never thought it would happen.
I never did.
And it is. It's crazy.
And we went from me being so angry at what's-his-face ruining Spider-Man to, Andrew Garfield, thank you for making Spider-Man Spider-Man again, to, oh my God, Marvel has Spider-Man again.
And in 2 words, he's already like, expectations are through the roof. Like, he's fantastic. We've heard him say 2 words so far.
Yep. Hey guys.
So
yeah, no, I am pumped. I am pumped.
Yep.
All right.
So yeah, we're all gonna see Civil War, and then we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
We're all going to see it opening day.
Yep.
We're all gonna see it.
Or night.
Yeah. Opening day, we're going to be recording. So, guys, be prepared. There's going to be a spoiler cast that's going to be ready within...
The day after.
Within 24 hours of us seeing it, essentially.
Yep.
Not just a spoiler cast. Ben, tell them what else they've won.
Tell them what else they've won. Let's see.
Notes.
I do have notes.
Citizen brought up Black Panther, who also... Another one of those characters that I don't usually care about, but the Black Panther in this movie looks great. And I think it's going to make me care.
I think the fact that Black Panther is going to be in a movie and that we're getting a Doctor Strange movie,
which also,
I mean, they're two of the Marvel, the Avengers Illuminati. Yeah. So I'm kind of pumped about that. So other things you can look forward to this week if you're listening to iTunes or YouTube, next week if you're on Twitch, is there's going to be a special edition of the Nightly Novels Bugle, which is hosted by yours truly. We're going to have a Civil War spoiler cast the day after the movie comes out, or I guess the day the movie comes out, essentially.
Right, that's
Friday, the official release day.
Friday, May 6th.
Mm-hmm. That Mike is planning on writing a review for it that Sam and I will contribute little things here and there too. I am going to be recording I'm going to be writing a special thing comparing the Civil War comics to the movie. And then Sam is going to be doing a nice thing about the box office and how it compares. So there's a lot of things coming Civil War week, guys.
Yes.
So be prepared. Guys, do you have anything else?
I might try and get in a little stream of something Marvel related to that weekend.
I was honestly thinking, Mike, you and I should do a Let's Play on some Lego Avengers DLC.
Oh, could I do that?
Thanks, guys.
Well, Can
I share play into it and play it?
Yeah, you can share play. I mean, it's a couch co-op like game, so I would assume you could share play into it.
That'd be cool. We should try.
Isn't there an internet version? I also own Lego
Avengers. Oh,
well then Sam and Mike can do it too if they so pleased. I don't know. I don't think there's an internet co-op feature to it because there hasn't been in any other Lego game, which is a shame, but
they try and keep those games cheap to make.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, that's something we could do.
Well, maybe I can dial in and watch you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll work too.
There we go.
All right. Okie doke, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, we all have shows that we do. I host a show called Nightly Novels. Every other Wednesday, my sister and I do our comic book club where we choose a book to read that we want you to follow along with us on. And this week's book is Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Strikes Again, which will air on Wednesday. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, Mike hosts the Let's Play podcast, where currently him and I are playing through Final Fantasy VII, which is my first Final Fantasy game that I've ever played. This time around, I mean, you're getting raw Ben's first reactions to Final Fantasy in this podcast.
FF7 specifically.
Yeah.
It was a big one.
And, of course, you guys can find us pretty much everywhere on the internet. Sam Chen is everywhere as DJ Fluffkins. Mike DeMarco is on Twitter at Mike V. That's MAIKV. You can also follow me on Twitter at BRIDDICKULOUS. That's Be Ridiculous. And you can follow everything Nerdy Nights related at nerdy_nights. And of course, all of our content is also available at www.nkrn.org. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let us know how much you love us. Leave us some comments. Let us know what your list of the Marvel movies are. Like, put them in order for us.
Let Ben know how wrong he is.
Yeah, sure, whatever. And of course, thank you, everyone. It has been an excellent night, and I officially dub the Nerdy Knights of the Round. Go out and defend the realm of the Nerdy Knights, and until next week, remember, it's dangerous to go alone.